Hey, how's it going, everyone? Desi here. Hey, sometimes you have to decide what you're going to settle for, not only from yourself, but from other people. We get stuck in our ways of doing things because, it's easy and we just get like stuck in this pattern of, conformity or, not necessarily wanting to change because we're used to what's going on in our life. And to change means it's going to bring something else in. And why are we going to do this? Why are we going to change? Is like we get stuck in toxicity almost because we're used to it and we don't know any difference, even though we know that changing is going to better our lives. Um, I did this all the time, and the only thing that was ever to help me change was either hitting rock bottom in a certain place or finding love that I wanted to change for to make me a better person for myself and for that other person. You know, it's a tough thing because I wish I could have took a lot of things back and maybe grew a little bit faster. After you go through some of these changes, you always look back and be like, why did I take so long? Because it's so much better on the other side. When you're not waking up with a hangover and you're feeling good and you're feeling energized, you're doing the right things in your life. And I mean, how many times have you woke up in the morning and be like, I'm never drinking again? It's because our spirit doesn't want to be stuck in those low vibrations. And, it's easy to go along with the crowd. And, when you're stuck with a group of people that likes doing these things, I've done it, we've all done it, as we grow up and we carry on with life because like I said, it's easy to fall into these patterns because it's something that society kind of brainwashes us with, as we are growing up, thinking that, drinking was cool or, using it to socialize or whatever. But, the wheels on the bus go round and round, and sooner or later, you need to get off that bus in order to evolve and to change. And when you do, it's going to better your life for the good. And sometimes you got to leave people behind, and sometimes you just got to leave situations behind. And it's not always easy to do that. I know a lot of people that probably wish they'd have never took the red pill or or whatever it was because change isn't easy, but the leaves never hold on to the leaves, when they know it's time to change. And sometimes you just got to go with the flow of the season and know that what you're feeling in your soul is always going to lead you into the right direction of life. So never be afraid to change, even though, like I said, I think we all are, because, why else would we get stuck living out these patterns over and over again? Um, and I wish, like I said, that I could have done it sooner. And hopefully, you all will be able to do it sooner by maybe just taking someone's advice. But more than likely, you know, you're going to have to make your own mistakes and you're going to have to either hit that rock bottom to where you finally want to change and do something different, or maybe you're going to find a person that touches your soul in a different way that you've never felt, and that'll make you want to change to be better, not only for yourself but for them, because you'll want to be that person, that you want, that you see yourself to be for them. So anyways, just remember that it's never going to be easy, and sometimes you just have to find other friend groups and other people that support what you're going to do in life, because if you don't, it's easy to fall back with these old habits and old friends. You'll go, or at least I used to go, I'd be like, okay, I made it 2 weeks, now I'm going to make it a month, now I made it a month, now I'm going to try to keep pushing it further and further out. But I would always have like these relapses back into drinking because I'd always have these friends and that I would you know want to hang out with. And I realized that I just couldn't do it no more, and that I had to change that friend group and just go into hermit mode for a little bit and really focus on what my dreams were, what my aspirations were, and try to better myself, not only for me and who I wanted to be, but for the people in my life. You know, I just wanted to be dependable, I guess, you know. And sometimes you just have to take accountability for yourself, you know. You you really have to take accountability for your actions and just stand up and, you know, be that person that you want to be, you know, be the person that when you were a little kid, you know, you there was always one person, I would say, probably in your life that you looked up to. And if not, you know, be that person that you always wanted to be, or you always wanted to have around as a little kid. You know, that's what I look at sometimes is like, man, it would have been great to have someone around like this that kind of knew who I was and kind of helped mold me into the person that I wanted to be. You know, it'd been so great to have a mentor like that. And so that's kind of how I try to live life now is to, you know, try to be that mentor for my inner child. And not only for that, but for other people. And, you know, I've made plenty of mistakes. I'm definitely not perfect. And I'll be the first to admit that. But as I continue to go further on this journey, I see that life is becoming a lot easier for me because I am taking the right steps and starting to do the right things in life. And if you start to take those steps now, and you know, you won't have to go through all the same struggles that I did, and you'll realize that living at a higher vibration really does change the way life evolves and moves towards you. Like good things just happen, and it really does make life flow so much better, you know. And then you're not wasting a day being hungover, laying on the couch or something. You know, you're really just attacking life and just taking it, you know, the bull by the horn, so they say, you know. So don't be afraid to live and live fiercely, you know, and you know, try not to waste too much time. You know, we're never gonna live forever here in this body, you know. So let's try to make the most of it and make this world a better place together. All right, till next time.